One of the last sessions, I know there's still stuff going on after this, so can you guys hear me okay in the back? I'm really tired, so if I pass out, just give me a heads up. You just never know. I know you already had one of those today, right? Yeah. So, sorry, I shouldn't have said that because now you're freaking out. So we're going to talk about, I'm going to just talk about some of the ideas that we have for involving parents in learning. It's going to talk a little bit about communication, but also some of the things that we found beneficial in the work that we're doing. So it's probably going to be about 35 minutes long, and then I'm going to take some questions for, and please share some of your ideas. It would be great if you shared them to the hashtag ICE14, some of the things that you're doing, because I love seeing what you're doing. If you can connect with me, that's really powerful for the work that we're trying to do. I know we have someone in the room that actually is doing their master's on this very topic, so I'm like, why am I talking about this? Oh, where is that person? Where are you? Don't hide all of a sudden. It's this guy. I'm just going to make it up. So, sure, it's him. Okay, anyways, I think it's really important the way we communicate with parents, and especially things that are constantly changing, and it's really crucial on the way that we connect and kind of get parents excited about some of the things that we're doing. One of the keys for me is to get parents so excited about what is happening in the classroom that they're thinking, this is so much better than when I went to school, that this is so much better for my kid. We don't want them going to well, this is the way school worked for me, and it's going to work for my kids. Things are constantly changing. So I think communication and what we do with parents is really crucial.
Okay, then Lauren's going to catch you. Okay, it's called the trust fall. Okay, trust fall. Ready, set, go.
Well, obviously, sometimes as a principal, I feel like that's kind of what's happened with me, is that I say one thing, people go the other way. So I know most of you connected with me this morning, so I'll just briefly talk about my role as division principal, and I'm always big on the relationships and how we connect with kids. And there's something that was said to me that has always stuck with me, is that when a kid hugs you as an educator, never be the first one to let go, because they're going to hug you as long as they need it. And I think that's really, really powerful to think about. So I wanted to be that educator that was always connecting with kids and connecting with the parents. And I know, especially I would like to think that I was a young administrator when I first started. And the thing with parents is that they would question my age often, that I didn't have the experience or anything like that. But when they saw how I connected with their kids, that will buy you a ton of credibility with them. And I think it's really important to show how much you actually care about their students, no matter what age you are. And parents are going to tend to buy into a lot of the stuff that we're doing. So this is a quote that I really love, this notion that we need to teach kids to respect the past but to live in the future. And there's a lot of things that schools have done for years and years and years that are great, and we have to continue doing that. That focus on relationships was important when I was a kid. It's going to be important for my kids in the future. And but how are we actually continuously learning? I think parents need to know that we're not foregoing a lot of the stuff that we're doing now for the basics, just basically reading and writing. It's just that reading and writing, things like that, are going to start looking differently. There's a great quote from Yang Zhao. He said, reading and writing should be the floor, not the ceiling. That's the basic minimum that we're trying to get kids to do, but we're actually going way above and beyond what we did as educators. And the other thing too is that we really want to connect with parents and show that we're willing to learn this as well. I often see educators, they'll come to a session, I'll talk about social media, and they're like, well, how do we get our kids doing this? And my first thing is, no. Don't get your kids doing it until you start doing it first. Because parents are going to feel much more comfortable with someone who's very savvy and actually engaging and doing these different things, as opposed to someone who looks like they're just experimenting with their child. And I think that's really important to think about. So I try to lead by example and say hey, these things are safe. Here are some of the concerns. Here are some of the possibilities, by actually doing some of the things that we try to do within our schools. And I believe that parents are so important and fundamental to the work that we're doing with kids in schools, and we have to kind of bring them into this process. And it's so much easier now to get them involved than it was when I was a kid. And I asked this question in my last session, and so if you were at that one, hopefully it's not repetitive, but when you ask a parent, what did you ask your kids when they got home, what did they ask?
How was school today?
How was your day? What'd you learn? And what does the kid say?
Nothing.
Nothing. And it's the same thing no matter where you go. It's the same conversation over and over again. And so what we just try to talk about with our parents to get them more excited about this is that we want to change that conversation with you. We want, when your kid comes home, that your conversation is different where you're not getting the nothing answer. So we're going to start using social media. We're going to start blogging. We're going to start doing these things. And what happens is when your kid comes home and you get to see what they're doing through an Instagram account or whatever, you're going to ask different questions like, hey, I saw that you were doing this science project and you're posting on Instagram. Tell me about it. It's a totally different question than what did you learn today? You think about after today, like someone tweeted like, I'm going to need a month to unpack what I learned in George's keynote. I don't know what is going on there, but they're going to take that time to process. And like kids, we're like constantly bombarding them at school with stuff, and they're going to feel overwhelmed at the end of the day. And if you don't ask them specific guided questions, if you're just saying, hey, tell me about your day, it's going to be the same with you. If I asked you, hey, what'd you learn today? You'd probably be like, nothing. Like, it's just so much information. But if I asked you, like, hey, tell me about this session, what happened in that? Tell me something, I'm more likely to get a more powerful answer. So when we, in Parkland School Division, where I'm from, in Stony Plain, Alberta, and we're at this great size. We have about 10,000 kids, so we're not gigantic, so it doesn't take us forever to change stuff. But we're not tiny where you don't notice us at all. Like we're at that really perfect size. We really wanted to focus on actually doing something different. We didn't want I hope this isn't offensive, but like, hey, success for students, blah, blah, blah. Like it's the same generic vision for so many schools, and nobody really understands it. And we said, hey, we want like our kids, actually not even our kids, but we said learners in our vision statement, because learners include every educator, every staff member to fulfill their dreams. And this was a video that we created. I'm just going to show you a snippet to kind of get people excited about what we're trying to do.
A series of images, ideas, or emotions. A deep aspiration to imagine. A strongly desired goal or purpose. When we dream, we explore, we create, we imagine.
I'm Rachel, I'm in grade 8, and my dream is to become a surgeon and save lives. My dream is to be a firefighter. My dream is to be an orthodontist. My dream is to change the world and to leave it a better place than the way I found it. My dream is to be part of the Doctors Without Borders. My dream is to paint a race car driver. My dream is to become a famous singer to inspire other people. My dream is to become a kindergarten teacher, to attend Princeton University, and become a pediatric physician.
And you think about what that says, like, we're not just saying, hey, we want to do well in tests. Like, we're going way beyond this, and we want kids to aspire to reach their dreams. And parents are really excited about this type of thing, but how is it going to look? So why is this stuff important? Here's a picture of me when I was a kid. And I'm like, if you probably know anything about me on Twitter, I'm like really close to my brother, but this is maybe not this close. Like this is a little too tight on that, main mode of transportation in Greece at the time was a donkey. So I actually took this picture, and you think about how I got this in. I show this to kids and talk about this picture, and they're like, oh, that's a cool Instagram picture, Couros. And I'm like, no, that's just a picture. Like this is what pictures actually look like. And so you think about this picture. I took it, my mom took this, and so she took this picture. She had to wait until her entire roll of film was completed before she could actually get them developed. Then she takes them to a store. It takes 2 weeks to get them back. Then she takes it, she puts it into a scrapbook. Then I find it, then I scan it, and then I put it in this presentation. So if this was like humiliating and embarrassing, or I did something stupid, I had tons of time to think, should I actually share this with the world? And so you think about now, this is not now, this is actually my first year teaching, and my dogs, and you can probably figure out what basketball team I like. It's not the Bulls. My dogs, Kobe and Shaq. So I took this picture, and I bought the best digital camera you could buy at the time. I paid $1,000 for it, and it was amazing. It could take 30 pictures, like on one card. It was like, wow, like I was the envy of everybody. And this was the highest quality image that I could take. And so what I would do with that digital camera was I would actually plug the camera in to my computer so I could actually have my own print shop. So I could actually print my own images, not to like post online, but to actually so I could, you know, save money or, you know, have more control over that process. And then you go to right now, you go to today, this is my about.me page. And if you go to about.me/Couros, it is becoming like an internet cover letter that you can actually find me easily. And not only can you find me, you can look at all the social networks that I'm on. And so one of the things I ask students, could you actually create this page, put all of your social networks, and give it to an employer? Could you give it and actually not only just not lose a job, but gain an opportunity? And this is something that's different, and we have to like help our parents understand this, because we're saying we want your children to have opportunities, and if we are not doing something different, they can be amazing in school and knock it out of the park and get the best grades, but then someone's gonna Google them and find horribly disgusting and inappropriate things, and they're going to lose out on opportunities. So we have to put this as more of an onus in what we do in our schools. And I'll give you an example of like something that you see and people not thinking. This was a girl, I think it was at the University of Iowa, which is rated the #1 party school in the US. And this person bragging, like just went to jail, YOLO, blew up through .341 in jail. My mom had to get him out of jail and had to take a breathalyzer. So you think about this person tweeting. How many of you, no matter what you do, would not hire this person no matter what because of this? Okay? Like there's no way she's going to be a teacher in my school. I don't know what she's taking in university, and I know that, like honestly, I say this to people all the time, if I was a kid, when I was a kid and Facebook existed when I was in university, they would not allow me to talk to you today. Like it was like, we all make mistakes and we all do stupid things. But the thing is that any person in our school could actually, if this was a teacher and she actually tweeted this stuff in her past and a parent found this would be on me too as a principal. And so we have to really think about this. And you see, like, it's not only this, like if you Google her name, she's like, you're finding articles about this person and having this. And so it's kind of like we live in an unfair world that kids actually have to be better than what we were as kids. They don't have the same leverage to screw up. But it's also, they also have way more opportunity than we do too, because they can connect with the entire world in ways that we never could. So there's a positive and negative with this as well. And so what's happening is you're seeing these kids, they're doing really amazing things, but their online presence and what they're doing is messing things up. And even though this is satire, it's pretty accurate.
Welcome back to the War for the White House bunker. A troubling new report from the Shuttleworth Institute shows that due to Facebook, every potential candidate for the 2040 presidential race, no matter how smart or accomplished, is now completely unelectable. I'm standing with 2012 Democrat with Jason Copeland. Jason, walk us through this.
Yeah, we're looking at really a political crisis. I mean, this is an alarming new study. Take a look at one of the candidates that the study points out. This is Trevor Kaufman.
Okay.
He's out of Houston, Texas. High school class president.
Yeah.
Has 10 hours a week volunteering. Got a full scholarship to Duke University.
He sounds like leadership potential.
Take a look at his Facebook photo album. You can see him smoking marijuana out of a lacrosse stick case. His roommate converted it to a 6-foot tall long ball.
Okay, that will definitely come back to haunt him when he runs for office.
And you know what's funny is like I'll have parents of like kids. I'm like, have you ever smoked weed? And they just go like, right? And some of them totally have. They just never posted on Facebook, and they're so disgusted by this kid. I'm like, come on, like seriously, we all did dumb things when we were kids. But they're just thinking, a lot of these students think that, hey, I'm just posting to my friends and that no one else is going to ever see this. And they don't realize the implications. And you think about, even at the youngest age, kids actually have digital footprints. That video that I showed this morning of the 1 second each day where the person, showed their birth or their pregnancy of their child, that kid's digital footprint started before they were even born. And you think about how that's changing, and this is my nephew Lex, and he's posting stuff online with the guidance of his dad, and he's going to be fine because of his parents, not because of the schools. And it's only because my brother's a professor of educational technology and has an understanding of this, but I don't think his school is actually, talking to him about these things and actually helping him through this. And so Will Richardson talks about this notion that basically we should actually be working in schools that you can Google a kid by the time they're in grade 12 and find great stuff that they've done. Think about that shift. We've always been to the point where we're like, oh no, we don't want to post them online, we want to keep them anonymous. And then we wonder like why there's cyberbullying and all these different things. And it's really easy to be a jerk when you're anonymous. It's really easy to do that. But when we actually say you should be accountable to the stuff you do online, you should put your name out there because it's going to create opportunities for you. It changes that conversation. And this is one of our goals, and parents start to look different at this. So here are some of these steps that we talk about for involving these parents in this process. And we really want to start with this vision of what we want to do. You'll see that a lot of schools will have they'll have a technology like responsibility use form or whatever, and those forms freak parents out because it's like if a kid does this, here's their penalty, here's their punishment. So they want to know that you are firm with kids not messing around. And like we don't have like if Billy stabs a kid with a pencil, then we're going to take this pencil away for a week because it's an inconvenience to the teacher to take their pencil away. So that's why we actually don't go over and above when they do something with a pencil. But when we're only going to the computer lab once a week, well, then that's a whole different thing. So we actually start with our vision of what we're trying to do with technology, and we talk about if any incidents happen with your child, we will deal with them on a one-to-one basis, as we do with every other thing that we do in schools. So on this form, and I know like please don't even try reading this. It's just to show you as a reference. You can see the link bit.ly/FG-AUP. And so what it is our vision, and you can, or for technology and what we did, and this is a few years old, but you can take it and modify it however you like. And so we tried to share this with our parents and got them excited about the opportunities that we would have with technology and what we were trying to do, and started with our vision as opposed to just starting about rules and things like that. And the things that we have are respect yourself, protect yourself, respect others, protect others, respect intellectual property, and protect intellectual property. And we talk about doing those things with our students to get the parents excited. And the process of what we did with our kids, you know, like at the beginning of the year, every parent gets like 50 forms that they have to sign and send back. This form actually goes home with those 50 forms, but we actually don't allow our kids to do stuff until our teachers deliver a session to them on digital citizenship. And then the parents, so the kids are like, oh, we get to do this and this and this, and we'll say, whoa, not quite yet. You have to get this form signed by your parents. And it talks about all these other things. So the kid signs how they're going to be, you know, do all these awesome things and not get in trouble. Then they go home excited to the parent and they say, hey, we're at school, we did this digital citizenship, here's the things that we're looking at doing, could you sign this? And so we actually don't want parents being surprised by the stuff that we're doing. And like pretty much after like grade 3 and 4, most parents are just signing the notes to just get the note back. Like kindergarten, they're reading everything, but later they're just signing it. And so we don't want any surprises. So our focus is to over-communicate our vision so parents know it. So they're not calling like, nobody told me about blogging. Well, no, actually, you signed 7 forms that talked about it, right? We want that kid to be the messenger and be excited about what they're doing and getting connected. So we talked about this. I talked about it a little bit this morning, this notion that we have, like, we're starting that every kid has a blog that's a portfolio that they start at kindergarten and they maintain through all of our schools until they leave in grade 12. And then when they leave in grade 12, they actually export it and they have their own space where they do it. If you Google our digital portfolio project, you will actually see the entire outline of the project, and you can do whatever you want with it. You can keep it, modify it, however you like. And so I showed them this video. So when I talk to parents and teachers about what this digital portfolio could look like over time, they don't really see it because they always see school as like, well, this year my child's with this teacher, then this year my child's with this teacher, and the teachers do different things. And we're trying to create this shared vision where we can actually use the potential of digital, where we can actually use one space to actually watch the child develop and grow in their learning. So this video makes a lot of sense to a lot of these parents. hate talking about this because it makes me tear up because it is pretty powerful. What the dad did, this is a Google commercial, but the dad actually did do this, and they just featured him. He started an email account for his daughter, and so he would email her continuously as she was growing up. And then I'm making a cry. She's like 13 years old, and then she opens up this email account from her dad with all these emails as he's watching her grow up. You know how powerful that is? How cool that would be to actually see your life through your father's eyes in that way. And so when a lot of especially when I do this, a lot of you are probably parents, and your first thing is maybe not to school, but I'm going to do this with my kid and actually create these spaces. So to me, if you were to say I would want this for my own child, then it is imperative for you to actually help your schools create these types of things, that we're a part of this and actually helping develop, because it's so much easier to do this. And when I show this to parents and teachers, this video, they want that portfolio. They want it because they're like, man, this would be so cool to have later on. And the parents that their kids have gone on to university, they're like, we just totally missed out this great opportunity. We missed out. I wish I could have this for my kid. The next notion is have this open mind. I hear so many times, oh, parents totally don't want this. They're constantly on us about doing these things. But you will always find parents in your school that want this. We move pretty quickly in our school district. We're trying to move ahead. We're not waiting for 3 years because the grade 12s don't really appreciate when we wait 3 years to do good things. So we're trying to move ahead quickly in the work that we're doing. And I've actually been challenged by parents, this might surprise some of you, that we're not moving quick enough, that we're trying to get them in. And there's some parents that are saying, you guys got to get going on this stuff. And so we're trying to find these parents and connect with them. And if you actually go into Twitter and you look at PT Chat, a hashtag, you're going to see parents actually connecting with educators and talking about some of the things that they're wanting for schools and some of the things that they're trying to do as parents. And I actually do a lot of parent symposiums, and the parents are complaining about the teachers not moving fast enough, and we have educators complaining about parents being reluctant. So there's something missing here. There's something that's wrong, is that we're each complaining the other one's not doing stuff. And I'm not saying anyone in this room, but I'm just saying there's a lot of parents out there that are advocating for the same types of things that people in this audience are also advocating. So how do you find them? And so this goes into the next notion of finding parent leadership. If as a principal, and this might sound like I'm manipulating my school, and I am kinda, to be honest with you, I'm gonna find the teacher that has a ton of influence with my staff. That this is the other colleague that people listen to. And when I do that, I'm gonna throw ideas off them, because if they say this is a great idea, other teachers start to listen to them. And they have those teacher leaders in schools that'll throw off ideas. And it's not me trying to get them to agree with everything, but them actually, they have respect of their colleagues for a reason, saying, what do you think of this? No, you don't like this? Well, I'm gonna change this, or I'm gonna adapt this. And then when the final product is out there, and I say, this is what we're looking at doing, and then you have this teacher leader saying, yeah, this is great. The other staff seem to go, oh yeah, this is awesome. We do the exact same thing with parents. You have parents with influence in your community, with their voice and what they do. How do you find those parents and actually connect with them and say, what do you think about this initiative? What do you do? And then have those parents advocate. So it doesn't look like it's a school thing. It's actually something that parents are wanting too. But actually listen to those parents. Don't just try to get them to side with you, but actually get feedback and find that leadership and connect with them. And so when we actually, what we've done is that when we built our vision, parents were in on the vision too. So that we could say, this is something that we're doing together. This is not something that the school has imposed on your child. This is a vision that was actually created in consultation with parents, because parents are looking for this type of things too. And the other thing too is that when we find this parent leadership, we really want them to be involved in getting those learning experiences that their kids are getting. This is a parent that I said, hey, you guys should try Twitter, just try it, I'll help you out. And she's like, there's no way my kid is ever doing this, ever. They're not connecting. I said, how about you try it and then talk to me? And so she was a pharmacist. And so she got on there and she started following what educators are doing. She also homeschooled one of her children. She's like, this is amazing. I wonder if there's something with pharmacists And so she actually started a community with pharmacists on Twitter, and now she's one of the biggest advocates. And if you can get a parent that is a convert to advocate for this stuff, you got other parents really listening, like, well, Susie totally disagreed and now she's on board, what has happened here? And they're gonna start looking differently. She actually writes this post about what she talks about with her kids, and she says, I think as parents we need to do 3 things for our kids: be aware of what our children are doing on the internet, be on sites with them as they go, and be examples with our own digital identity. This is not a teacher, this is a parent talking about this, simply because we did workshops on social media where parents just didn't hear about it, but they actually sat down and learned how you can connect in powerful ways and improve learning. And so we saw some really awesome opportunities like this. And this goes into the next idea of creating these learning opportunities. How many of you know Patrick Larkin? Patrick Larkin in Boston. If you can look him up, his handle is @Patrick M. Larkin. He talks like seriously like Peter Griffin. It's the greatest thing ever. He's from Boston. I just like, all I hear is Family Guy the entire time. But he's brilliant. The guy is really smart. And so what he does is they constantly have these parent nights where parents are engaging in the type of learning that their children are learning in, and so that they can actually help them at home, but see the potential and the value of the difference of what school looks like now. And I see it's something that's really, really powerful in the way that they're doing. And the other thing too that we look at is that we need to use what the kids use. Don't try to do something that looks like Facebook. Like, I understand Edmodo is great, but it's not, I wouldn't use it for grade 11 and 12 kids because they're already on Facebook. And so they start to make the separation. How many of you use SharePoint? Anybody? Do you guys not use this? Oh my God, thank goodness, because it's terrible. Like this, if you do, you might be the person, like, this is like the worst thing ever. I hate SharePoint with all my passion. And so like, it just doesn't look like anything that kids use. And like, you might be going off, okay, I'm just gonna say it. So some of you might be going to Office 365, and school divisions go to this, and I'm thinking, why would you go to Office 365? Like, if you had money and you had your life savings, would you actually, and you had to put it somewhere, and you had 2 choices, would you choose Microsoft or Google? What would you choose? Google. But schools say, well, it's just our kids, let's throw in a Microsoft. There's something wrong with that they're using these things that kids, like, who's signing up for Hotmail addresses still? Do people do that? Like, when there's an application with a Hotmail address, I'm like, oh boy, someone hasn't used a computer in a while, right? Like, you might have a Hotmail address and you might be the best person ever, but it's like, we're trying to get stuff that is applicable. So we're using Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. We're even looking at how Snapchat is used. Like McDonald's, all these corporations are somehow doing Snapchat. What are they doing to actually engage with people? I know Snapchat, like, that's a whole other session, is something that's terrible, but kids are on it. So how do we actually use these things to do this and not use things that are totally make no sense to these kids? So we're connecting, on these spaces where kids are going. Kids don't rush home. I'm sorry. Schools put so much money into school websites. Kids don't go home and say, I'm totally going on the school website. They don't care. I don't understand it. Why we put so much money into something that kids hate and don't use. And they go to these spaces, and I think as schools, we need to start invading these spaces and be there so that the kids just get the notification on Facebook or Twitter, or they follow the hashtag, and because that's where they're at anyway, so why not connect with them? And so you're seeing these two vice principals from different schools, and I showed it this morning about Innovation Week. These are the actual 2 vice principals that led up in the first 2 schools that did it, but instead of actually doing a phone call, they actually said, let's go Google Hangouts because we want to start doing these with our kids. So they did a Google Hangout, not only because they wanted to learn it, but they're saying, well, why can't anybody actually be a part of this conversation? Because if we did it on the phone, it's going to be limited to the 2 of us, but if we do it through Google Hangouts, maybe other schools will start to jump on within our school division or other places as well. So these kids or these teachers are starting to use this, and so they figure it out, and then they're more likely to actually do this with the students. It shouldn't be the teachers work in this space and do things over here, and the kids do things over here. Just find one medium that you can actually all use together, because it's going to save time and it's going to make sense, and then you can actually talk about these things It's hard to deal with kids using Google Hangouts if you've never used it as a teacher, so why not actually implement it into the stuff that you're doing? And so what we're trying to do is actually bring parents in and get our staff and our kids, and I love this notion is that if you really want change, it's not about bottom up or top down, it's all hands on deck. If you want change in schools, it's got to be everybody doing this, including the parents, and how do we actually get to them? And so the next idea is that we have open communication with our parents. And we do this with Twitter, and we connect with them. I actually used to do an email weekly to my staff every week, and I would say, here's where I am this week. Here's 2 articles that I found on Twitter that are great. You should totally read them. So I would send it to my staff, and like 2 people would read them. They were like, I'm not reading this stuff. And then by Wednesday, someone would say, where are you this week? I'm like, didn't you read the email? And they're like, yeah. And so I just forgot. And so they would do those things. So I'm like, this isn't working. So I said, you know what? I'm actually going to start a blog and connect with them that way, because there's nothing in that email that parents can't know. They can know where I am during the week, and they can also see the articles that we're sharing. So I actually sent the blog to the teachers. I would do the exact same thing, and then all of a sudden, so how many teachers are reading this now that it's in blog form? Now it's just amazing. Still 2 teachers, they don't care. And because they're inundated with emails, because they get so much, and I try to really curate them. And I'm not saying like teachers are like bad for not reading it, but it's like we get a lot of email, and so you're trying to like filter what is important or not. But what happened was teachers started reading it a lot more when a parent would actually go up to them and say, did you see that post? And did you read that article George shared? What did you think? And then the teacher's like, oh, I didn't read it. And they were kind of embarrassed a little bit. So they actually started reading this more. And as we did that blog, the impact of it was not something I planned, but parents were becoming a lot smarter on what we were doing in education, because they were learning along with us, because we just said, why would we do an email when we can just share it with our community in a blog? This is actually something we did. And this is, I don't hope this doesn't go into another conversation. I'll send you blog posts if you're interested. We got rid of awards in our school. So we got rid of all of them. And we don't have honors, anything like that. And so something that we've done always in our school, tradition forever, I was terrified of that process to say like, hey, you know what, we don't think this is right for kids that lose them or kids that win them because they focus on the wrong things. And research actually shows they're detrimental to kids that win them too. So when we were actually looking into this and blogging and tweeting and doing stuff, when the day came when we said to parents, hey, you know what, we're going to remove awards from schools, nobody actually complained about it, because they were as well versed as we were in the research, because they were reading all the same stuff. Why? A lot of times we like surprise parents with initiatives when all you had to do was actually share it openly. And so what does this lead to when you get these parents actually involved in this stuff? And I talked about this morning, this notion of this cyberbullying, this low-hanging fruit. We don't want to say like, don't be horrible people. We want to inspire our kids to do something amazing. And so we have to look at what are some of the things that are out there that we're connecting with parents and showing them some of the really great stories, because all they hear about online is cyberbullying and these negative things. And you're seeing a lot of organizations actually take they're not really focusing on products as much as they are connecting with people's hearts.
That was wonderful. I'm ready.
That kid kills me every time. The reason why I showed you this is if you look at other companies, you look at Coke, you look at McDonald's, you look at Adidas, like what does Adidas sell? What's their main product? What did you not see? Shoes. And so they're actually trying to connect with you. And so what are we sharing from our schools? What are the stories we're sharing? We're sharing data, test scores, things like that. Why don't we not actually share something powerful where kids are seeing, parents are looking for their kids in these places and they're trying to see some really powerful stories. And I talked about this notion is that we're really trying to show the human side of the internet. And I love this picture. This is a guy that lost his mom to cancer and he posted this on Reddit. And we always hear about these horrible things. And this guy posted this on Reddit and said, look, this is my mom. This is my last picture with her. I don't want this to be the last image I have. Can someone touch this up and make it look better? I don't like the hoses in her nose and her face is really white. Can you change it? So people took it. And one of the things that someone did was they took this picture and made that picture. And you look at the differences that someone actually willingly took that time. We've got to share these stories. If you look at the original image, look at the chair. There's actually a rip in the chair. The attention to detail is so amazing that they actually fixed the chair. Wow. And you see this, and these are the stories I'm going to share. These parents lost their child to leukemia. They said, we want a simple version. Can you do this? And people took it to here, to here, to here, to here. And you think about this, and we're trying to get parents to see there's a lot of really good stuff out there too, and are we actually inspiring your kids or empowering them to make a difference in the lives of others online? And so we try to share these things with them. So we go to this notion of digital leadership where they're actually doing these things and Google becomes this business card. So this is a great story. This girl is 9 years old and she started a blog about her cafeteria food and it actually went totally viral. And she was just trying to bring awareness to other schools or to other places about Malawi. And so she started a blog and this is what happened.
Not your average food blog. Hey, I'm Jillian Pentuali, and this is Buzz 60. A 9-year-old girl from Scotland has started her own food blog called Never Seconds. She showcases just how disappointing her school lunches are, and she's gone viral. Check this out. Every day, Martha Payne takes a photo of her lunch, and then she adds her own little commentary. She's not always happy about it, saying, I'm a growing kid, and I need to concentrate all afternoon, and I can't do it on one croquette. Do any of you think you could? No, Martha. I don't even know what a croquette is. Macaroni and cheese, that's always good. Martha gives you every detail of her meal. She rates it on the foodometer, then tells you how many mouthfuls it was, gives it a health rating, and tells you how much it cost her. And she counts how many pieces of hair she's found. Always stays at 0. She's posted submissions from other students across the globe, and food revolutionary Jamie Oliver has even tweeted his support. Martha, you're awesome! This almost makes me wish that I could go back in time and start having cafeteria food every day, just so that I could be a part of this. Not really.
And so what happened was she started this and it went viral and it got like millions of views within the first month and she got a lot of attention. But the interesting thing was the school, you can tell how connected they were, they actually found out from the local newspaper. So they had no clue and they actually shut down the blog and censored her because they were saying she was jeopardizing the cafeteria workers' food. They should have just maybe made the food better, right? Like, it would seem to make more sense. And so they actually shut this down, and when they shut it down, people had taken so much attention. This is a politician basically scolding the school district for doing this, and this is actually Jamie Oliver retweeting his support on this, and so she got so much attention. It was interesting, as a 9-year-old kid trying to make a difference for these kids to actually build a cafeteria for them. And you can see in the back they're saying, thank you Martha and your friends. What she actually ended up doing was she's raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for these kids at 9 years old. And so what are we doing at school to actually get kids to connect and make a difference in the world? Not just simply do school, but actually do something really powerful, not waiting till they're adults. Actually doing this now. And again, this goes back to a school trying to, not even just doing this in spite of, she's actually going around the school to do this. And we want our kids to do these types of things. And I love this quote from Ewan McIntosh, who wrote on this. Martha shows every facet of great learning. Real world change, making the environment around her better, sharing her thinking with the world, and having a conscience for the world beyond her immediate horizons. These are the things that I want our students to do, and we need our parents to actually be involved to actually be able to do these types of things. So some just concluding thoughts. I love this video because kids live in a totally different world where it's not just about them being great online, but actually all the time, because there's a camera watching all the time. And so we're trying to inspire that our kids are doing something amazing. And I know it's a Coke commercial, but I absolutely love it. When we show this to parents and we talk about this, we're saying to them, you know what, we don't want your kids just to be good at school. We want them to be amazing people right now. And we're going to do everything that we can to actually get them there. We're going to need your help. We're going to use those parents as a resource. And you think about it, if the parents and the schools are working, you double the chances of the success of a child to do something really powerful. And it's this notion of what are you going to help make viral? What great things are going to happen in your schools because of this? And you're going to need the parents in this process. So that's it for me. If you guys want to connect, you need any resources, there's ways you can actually connect with me. Cute kid. And so like you can actually look at this stuff at any time. I have tons of resources on my blog. I'm going to post the presentations on SlideShare so that if you need anything. But you guys, it was great connecting with all of you. I am emotionally exhausted, but it's been so cool, and I hope to connect with you in the future. Thank you very much.